Assalamu alaikum and good morning, Doc. Good morning, everyone. I am Sitiani Pamaminta. I am here to continue tackle about multicultural education. So, in the history of multicultural education, it emerged during the civil rights movement of the 1960s and 1970s. So, it grew out of the demands of ethnic groups for inclusion in the curricula of schools, colleges, and universities. So, during the history of multicultural education, it told us that ethnical groups needs an inclusion for in the curricula of schools, colleges, and university. Because schools and colleges or institution welcome all the different kind of students that belongs to different kinds of ethnic groups. So that is why uh, they need to they need to accept whatever ethnic groups they came from. So the primary goal of the early ethnic studies movement was to challenge the negative images and stereotype of Americans prevalent in mainstream scholarship by creating accurate description of the life, history, and contribution of African Americans. So during that time, negative images and stereotypes is very rampant. So to minimize that, they need to create accurate description of the life and history. So that they know what life is. What are the life and the history of different groups that belongs to the ethnic groups. That is why, so that they can minimize the negative images and stereotypes. And then by the late 1980s, multicultural theorists recognized that ethnic studies was insufficient to bring about school reforms capable of responding to the academic needs of students of color. So every institution that time is concerned to the academic needs of different ethnic groups. That is why um, during these years, multicultural educators also responded from a primary focus on ethnic groups of color to other group categories such as social class, language, and gender. Although conceptually distinct, the key social categories of multicultural education, race, class, gender, and culture are interrelated. So during that time, they categorize um, other groups such as race, class, gender, and culture. So, if you belong to the popular race, you are easily acknowledged. Or if not, perhaps you are ignored. The same with the class. So, if you are belong to the high status family, you are easily acknowledged in an institution. The same with the gender. If you are male, you are considered as strong compared to female. Somehow you are considered as weak person, and then the culture. So to acknowledge that, they find ways to consider these issues. Then during the 1970s, a number of professional organizations such as the National Council for Social Studies, the National Council of Teachers of English, and the American Association of Colleges for Teacher Education issued policy statement and publication that encouraged the integration of ethnic content into the school and teacher education curriculum. So as the time passed by, or then every institute they have the professional organization to address these ethnic groups needs. So that is why they have to integrate ethnic content into the school and teacher education curriculum. So over the past 2 decades, more ethnic content has appeared in the textbook used in elementary and secondary schools in the United States. So an increasing number of teachers are using anthologies in literature programs that include selection written by women and authors of color. So this time, they acknowledge every hobbies or interest of every ethnic groups because of they include anthologies in literature programs. Also, they acknowledge women as the authors of uh, this literature. So they regardless of color where you belong, whether you are in the lower class or in the higher class, you are already acknowledged because of multicultural education. So what is multicultural education? So multicultural education is an idea, an approach to school reform, and a movement for equity, social justice, and democracy. So, meaning school reform, school reform refers to the continual effort to modify and improve educational system of an institution. So that is why they need to have the school reform, and then a movement for equity, movement for equality for everyone. Then a social justice, fairness for everyone, whether you are belong to the higher class or lower class or whatever you wherever you are belong. And then democracy. So you have a right to choose or the right of being independent. So that is multicultural education. So multicultural education seeks to ensure educational equity for members of diverse racial, ethnic, cultural, and socioeconomic groups and to facilitate their participation as critical and reflective citizens in an inclusive national civics culture. So, an example of this inclusive national civic culture is offering a live subject in all elementary levels of DepEd. So that is one example of national civic culture for acknowledging the Muslim student learners. So that is why they offer it to all learners, whether you are Muslims or not. And then evidence of the effectiveness of multicultural education. So, at least there are three categories of research that describe the effectiveness of multicultural education. So, there are many researches, I guess, that describe effectiveness of multicultural education. So, I will mention three researches that prove the effectiveness of multicultural education. So first research is that describes the effectiveness of multicultural curriculum intervention such as Bang's 2001 research review. So according to his research, the cooperative uh, multicultural intervention, this research indicates that curriculum interventions such as plays, folk dances, music, and role playing and simulation can have positive effects on the racial attitude of students. So that proves how effective is multicultural education to learners. So another research is that research on the effects of cooperative learning and interracial contact, such as Robert Slavin's 2001 research review. So, according to him, cooperative learning and interracial contact, it helps students to develop more positive racial attitudes, to make more cross-racial friendships, and have positive effects on the academic achievement. So it also proves that multicultural is effective to the learning of learners. So another research is the research on how culturally responsive teaching influences student learning, such as Carol Lee's 1992 study and Gloria Ledson's Belling's 2000 work. So, culturally responsive co-teaching influenced student learning. So, they found out that through culturally responsive teaching, multicultural education had positive effect on the racial attitudes of teachers influence student learning. So, in the end, the student learns because of multicultural education. So, that ends my part. Thank you and good morning.